Yes, and then in the distance I heard the bulls. I began running as fast as I could. Fortunately, I was wearing my Italian cap to Oxfords. Sophisticated yet different. Very much like Jeff Rimmer and Randy Raines. The world's seventh most interesting broadcast. Milkshake. Listen to it, or be damned.
Milkshake. Milkshake. Milkshake.
Milkshake.
And we need a better intro. I love the actual
Like me?
intro.
Yeah, instead of me just coming in with
I
some
need
random
some dancing music, something to get me going, right? I know
Speaking
you
of
like that.
getting you going. I'm looking at you right now. Nobody else can see you, but is that the bed behind you where all the magic happens that gets you going?
That is the magical bed behind me. Yes, I am actually doing this podcast from the bedroom tonight. The kids are home. They've occupied every free space. One of my daughters is working on a campaign, so she needs the real quiet space to do her stuff for the campaign. So I am relegated to the bedroom. The bedroom. I need to start, collecting money or something here because I thought I was the master of the house, but I am not.
Well, it looks pretty magical. So I like the look of it.
It's like a carnival in here. Yeah.
Ask your wife and she'll probably say a little bit different than that.
Yeah, speaking of my wife, she actually gave me a few ideas this week for our podcast. And
Okay.
one was the topic we're going to discuss. And another one, which I told her, hell no. She said, why don't you guys talk about the best vacations you ever took? And I said, well, I don't want to brag about going to places like Asheboro, North Carolina,
Definitely
and
not.
Spartanburg, South Carolina, all
You
the
ever
great
been to
vacations.
Kinston, North Carolina? Have you been there?
Kinston, yeah. And the best time of my life was in the Lake of the Ozarks. So I don't want to brag about stuff like that to people. They'd feel inferior knowing that I'm in the top 1% if I do that. So I said, we can't talk about best vacations. So the other idea she brought up, you can, is right.
We're already people are already looking like the celebrity guys, those celebrity podcast guys. We cannot slap on something with our, our journeys and travels through the world to make people feel less.
No, especially when you throw out towns like Kinston and Asheboro and it's just crazy. We're really
North Carolina. I mean,
we're just flaunting our wealth at that point.
Yeah, we really are. And I've been to West Virginia a couple times as well. And I'd hate to throw that out in front of someone and really make them feel guilty, especially this year when a lot of people can't travel and afford to go to West Virginia,
Exactly. I've even spent a whole night in Pittsburgh. So
I did too one time, just one night at a Howard Johnson.
I don't even know where I stayed, but man, you talk about glamorous.
It was so awful. I'm talking about the sheets were scratching me all night long. Like it's what, ugh. Yeah, I love Pittsburgh. I love all our Pittsburgh listeners, though. I do. I love you guys. It was just.
Well, I think they threw us over 1,000 last week. I think it all came from Pittsburgh, and we may lose them and drop below 1,000 people again. But here we go. So So this week, go ahead.
No, I was going to say let's start something new for each episode because first off, this is a very celebratory moment. This is our 10th episode, and who would have thought that we would have gotten this far? Day one when we first started and started talking about random shit. And now we're, here into talking about even more random shit, that we're in 10 episodes of this and people are listening and we're growing listeners week over week.
I know it's crazy, especially considering you tried to fire me after episode 1. So somehow my contract is held up and you've been forced to work with me. But thankfully, I'm still around. You're still around. And like you said, we've made it to 10. Soon we'll have thousands of episodes to look back on.
Well, I think each week now, something new we should start is giving a shout out to start with to some of our listeners that we have. A couple of them up front, people love that. It's that old school radio mentality of, shouting people's names out. And, I see you, Dolores, at the grocery store right now, shopping for your goodies, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Who do you want to call out this week?
I was going to wonder who you want to call out.
Let's, while you're naming people or talking about folks you want to give shout outs to, I will think about it. Last week I did name drop a few friends in DC, not on purpose. It was part of the story. So it really wasn't anything but just
Well,
impromptu name dropping.
well, I'll give it a special shout out. I had someone reach out to me last week by the name of Kevin Spacey after our last,
Uh-oh.
episode. Yeah, actually it was a good chat. And so he said he'd be listening again this week. So Kevin Spacey, I'm giving you a shout out, homie. I hope this week you appreciate it more. He said he really actually enjoyed it. So I'll name drop him. Some other people out there, Jack Rains. That's a dude that's always listening, right?
He is always listening, and he's probably our most critical fan. I know that he just sends us nothing but negative feedback via social media. So there might be a way to block him eventually, and we're going to have to.
I think he's our biggest fan. Maybe we should start a fan club, and literally, like, each week we can create T-shirts, we can send them out, like whatever it takes. We should start an old school fan club. Let's make this like old school radio when it was cool.
Yeah, I think who was our first listener? Was it Justin Little?
I like Justin
recall?
Little. Yeah, I think it
Yes.
was him and Anthony out there. I think they both were.
All right, so
Mr.
maybe we
Anthony Lambert, between the two of
what
them
do we
right now.
need? Yeah, I think we need 4XL for Justin. And Justin, we love you, buddy. All right. So
All right, so let's get into this week, man. Tell us what we're talking about.
yeah, so again, I want to give my I'm going to give my wife a shout out, Liz. She gave me a few ideas. Some I, brushed off, but I did think this one was kind of cool, especially as we live in this pandemic world. She said, "Why don't you guys talk about your bucket list?" And at first I was like, yeah, we all have bucket list. And so she just kept rattling things off. But then I kept coming back to the bucket list. And I said, actually, it's a great idea because we all have in our minds things we want to do before we die. And I'm getting close to the end, so I might as well start working on a real bucket list and try to live out some of these things. You're a little bit younger, so you've got a lot of time to make your bucket list work. So I thought it was a great idea if we both came up with our top 5. Try to minimize our honorable mentions and take it from there. And what did you think of the topic?
Yeah, no, I like it. I've never given it any thought before. People talk about bucket lists usually when they are dying, and that's when they really start putting it together and figuring out what could have been or what they still want to do, make a wish foundation, whatever it is, at that point. And I've never really given it thought. So it was great to have to sit down and think about it. I will say that I'm pretty sure my bucket list is pretty fluid and it'll probably change as I get older. And, even by tomorrow, I might have something different. But at this moment, these are the 5 things that came to my mind that I really thought about was like, these are the things I would like to experience or like to do. And then, you threw out something unique instead of having all of these honorable mentions like we always do, the staple of this show. I like the one thing that you said where we're going to do something that's completely far out and impossible. So I have a 6th one for that, obviously, that we'll chat about too. I don't know if you want to do that last, maybe.
It doesn't matter to me. Obviously we don't script this show, and it's apparent every time we chat because we go in 3,000 different directions. But I had written down my 5 with my one, one bucket list item that doesn't really or can't be
included in your 5.
No, I listed it as number 6, so I was going to start with that one. But we can
go. No, let's start with it.
So,
go for it. Let's see what you got.
yeah, so, growing up, there's a lot of things you want to do, whether it's jumping out of planes and all kinds of cool stuff. But as you get older, you really start thinking about things that are important to you and cool. But one thing that I would love to do that, as a kid, I really didn't think too much about. But as I get older, and it's actually almost feasible, but not for me at this point in time, I'd love to go to the moon or Mars. I would like to be an astronaut and actually do that. So, not that I want to look at the world from the moon or from Mars. The fact is, I just want to go to outer space. I want to walk on the moon or walk, on Mars. I know that's years and years away, but I mean, it's feasible. It has happened. But let's be honest, I'm 55. I doubt NASA's going to let me get in any suit at all. But if I could, I'd jump on a shuttle to Mars or to the moon tomorrow and enjoy that bucket list item that isn't in my top 5. So what's your honorable mention?
I like it. I like space, man. I didn't include that, but I'm glad you said it because I thought about it. Truly, I did. And I was watching a show on Netflix, this new space one they have. Why can't I think of the name? Away.
I just started watching it myself.
Yeah.
How about that?
And it was cool, just the fact that they're leaving the moon to go to Mars, and that it's interesting. But that's not what I chose. My favorite movie of all time has to do with this. So we've talked about this stuff before, but my favorite movie of all time is a movie called Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen. And in that movie, at midnight, Owen Wilson is on these steps in Paris. And I might have talked about this in a prior episode, but for those that have not listened before, I'm going to explain it again. This horse and carriage or this old 1920s car rolls up, and like people are yelling, "Hey, come on with us," or whatever. And he gets in thinking like, whatever, I'm just going to go party with some random people in an old car. And it takes him back to time into the 1920s. And he's hanging out with F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda and Ernest Hemingway and Gertrude Stein and Cole Porter and George Gershwin. And that's my favorite era. I was the one when, 2019 ended, and I was so pumped to get into 2020. Like, I feel guilty about it now, but I was so pumped to get into the 20s. Like, I've been looking forward to this since I was a kid, like getting to the 20s because of how great the 1920s were. So for me, it would be just to spend 1 year. I want a whole year in the 1920s in Paris and just like living it up. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care if I'm working, if I'm just chilling, but like hanging with these guys, just like that movie. And fun fact, I was in Paris one time, and I remember it like it was yesterday because I got a call from Megan when I was checking into my hotel, and we found out we were pregnant with Rooney that day. So she called me to let me know, and I was in Paris that night. So at midnight, I walked to the steps that Owen Wilson did in the movie. I Googled it, found it, went there, and just waited. I was like, all right, today's a special day. Like, this could happen today. I'm about to have a baby. This is going to be awesome. It didn't happen. So I was a little unfortunate. Actually, on the way back, I had some people follow me that were a little unsavory characters. So it probably wasn't smart kind of going out like that at night. But long story short, very long story short, I would love to spend a year in the 1920s in Paris. That's what I would do on my bucket list.
That would be awesome. And already you don't shower a lot. So that works out really well for you to drop back to the 20s.
Wait, side story. Another side story on this one. 1998, maybe. Let's just throw that year out there. I'm on a plane from DC to Boston, and this amazing smell was happening on the plane. And I started looking around me, and it was a bunch of kids my age, like teenagers. And I'm looking around, and I start talking to them, and they're all French kids. And an interesting thing was they were during this little short flight, they were telling me, we don't shave, like women don't shave. We don't shave under our arms. Right. We don't use your deodorant. And they started showing me their magazines, which was basically nothing but nudes, like in their typical magazines that they have that are out like that. So I thought it was the coolest thing. But that smell, I'll never forget, that pleasant. And I put that in a very sarcastic quote. That pleasant smell of that plane. So when you bring that up, immediately I go to that moment in my nostrils of being filled. And imagine that in an airplane and like 70 tourist kids from France who didn't shower, bathe. I don't know if they didn't shower, bathe. That's kind of rude, but they didn't wear deodorant. And
not
they
on a
were proud
regular
of it.
basis. Yeah, it seems like, and I've had a few French friends, and it's not an everyday event for them, or at least
I actually
the
think
norm.
it's great. I think it's great. And honestly, all of our French listeners out there, like I'm jealous that you guys can get away with it.
I'm sure you guys, a ton of them.
Yeah, like parlez-vous français? Like, I think you guys are amazing with not wearing your deodorant. I wish that was kind of the standard here in the U.S. I mean, it is for some of us. So that's it, man. That's all I'm going to talk about. That.
No, but that is a great bucket list item. Obviously, it can't happen. I'm not going to Mars either. But those are things that are kind of cool. But my top 5 are all real things that can happen. And I do hope that happen over the next 2 years before I'm gone. So I'm going to have to work really hard to get there, but I think I can. And hopefully you're 5, and I'm 99.9% sure we're not going to overlap on any of this because, again, although we have the same thought process and we enjoy the same things, a lot of our interests are very different, which makes this show even more exciting, I think.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're both interested in dudes. So
don't tell our wives, right?
No, you're right. So we're in our top 5, right? So now we're into the real potential things that could happen for a bucket list. And I may have cheated a little bit, but I'll get into that as we get into our list. But I guess go with it, man. I would love to hear your number 5 bucket list of actual real tangible things that you could probably do in your lifetime.
Yeah, and I've been pretty close to doing a lot of these actually. And I say pretty close. My life has taken me a lot of different places, and I've enjoyed a lot of things in 55 years. But one that I haven't gotten close to that I want to do is I want to head off to Africa and be on a real safari.
Mm.
Not one of the touristy ones where you're sitting with 50 other people and you're just kind of on a bus and watching things from a distance. I'd love to be in the safari. I'd love to be sleeping in a tent. I would love to go out with a local. And more importantly, I want to see real wildlife doing real things like a lion going after a zebra. And as much as you hate seeing that when you watch these documentaries, when you're watching a zebra documentary, you hate seeing the zebra get taken down. But when you see a lion documentary, you love to watch the lion win. So I would actually love to see nature in action in Africa. And I'd love to see the lion win. As gruesome as it may be, I think a safari would be a top 5 bucket list for me. So that is my number 5.
Well, and that's it's an interesting number 5. I mean, because I watch those videos all the time. I follow an Instagram account, so I'll plug it since they pay us. But Nature is Metal Instagram account, it's a great one. It's usually showing lions ripping apart things and things like that. And we love watching that kind of stuff. We love watching nature. And you could probably get a tour with Jimmy John, CEO. He frequents that area a lot. Those safaris.
Maybe one of the Trump boys will take me on a hunting safari. I don't know, but it's funny because I do watch some of those documentaries, and sometimes I feel bad for the animal being taken down. But quite honestly, if I go to Africa and I'm on a safari, I want to see an animal taken down. So I guess I'm cruel and mean. But that's nature at its finest. So that's my 5. What's your number 5, Jeffrey?
My number 5, I don't know if it'll ever happen just because you have to have a specific quality about you to make this work. But I would love to do stand-up comedy in front of a packed crowd. And by packed crowd, I mean a couple thousand people at least. I'd love an arena, like a massive arena doing like a special. But my wife Megan has actually done stand-up comedy in front of like local clubs and stuff, and I would even just enjoy that, but I really want to do it in front of more people, and I want it to be funny, obviously. So that's where it's going to be a tough stretch, to make this part of my bucket list to check it off. But I would love to do that. I've always been envious.
That's a great one. I love that. I love comedy, as you know. If you just take our text messages over the past year, I think you've got yourself an act right there, quite honestly.
Or a lawsuit.
Or both. I don't know. But yeah, it would, you would do well in front of an audience. I know your sense of humor. Now we just need to write, 20, 30 jokes for you and you're good to go, man.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So it's a little bit different than your number 5, but something I've always thought about. And one day, it's not even getting the nerve to do it. It's really the opportunity. That would be the key.
Well, you're actually closer to doing that than most people think. You can go do a local, 2-minute stand-up thing at a local place. Mm-hmm. If you do well, you go to a place where you get 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And who knows, maybe you can actually work your way up. But on a small scale, a micro scale, if you will, you could go live out that dream. Even if it's only in front of 2 or 3 people, you could do it.
Yeah, no, I hope it's more than 2 or 3 people. Thanks for shitting on my dream there, but
amateur night, all you get are like 5 amateurs in the room, and they're all telling the jokes to each other. So
I'm like, I have this big grandiose plan to like be at like Madison Square Garden, and you're like, yeah, just go in front of your kids, like all 2 of them.
You got to start somewhere, and Megan can coach you on that, right? So start small, and because it's kind of hard to start off in front of 20,000 people. In an arena. So if you start small, work your way up, man. Give it a shot. At least try. Can't hurt. All you can do is be booed off by 5 people.
Yeah, no, and I could care less about stuff like that. No, I do think this is a good time to bring up, since you just made me think of it, another sponsor for us. Last week's sponsor was my other podcast, Yesteryear Untold, which I hope everyone's listening to. It's a great history podcast that has humor and fun and stuff. And this past week we talked about the Japanese, the samurai, how they basically took swords and stabbed that shit through their stomach and killed themselves. So it was very interesting. But I think this week our sponsor, our paying sponsor, is a new podcast coming out called The Rim Job.
All right, tell me about The Rim Job before I go to my number 4, which that actually might be my number 4. But tell me about this new podcast.
So The Rim Job. Yeah, the rim job it's a great name. It's a catchy name. Is actually me and Megan doing a podcast together, and we're figuring out exactly what the format is and really what the theme is behind it. Because like with Milkshake, there is no theme. It's just whatever the hell
None.
we want.
No, we have a theme top 5, but it can be a
Yeah,
top
that's true.
5 about anything. But yeah, tell us about the
Yeah,
rim
so
job
we don't have
storyline.
a theme, so it's just us, and it's the rim job based on my last name, and I think it's gonna be funny as shit because she's gonna be on it, and she's super funny. He was so much more than I am, which I'm giving myself credit that's probably not even there. But it's gonna be fun, and she's probably mad that I'm plugging it right now because she's the type that she'll do a couple episodes with me and not want to tell anybody. Like she doesn't want to put it out in the world like I do. So, but the rim job's coming soon.
I love
So-
it, and most people know your last name is Remmer, so it's a play off of that. But how much ridicule did you get growing up with the last name Remmer? Were you tormented with that name or no?
Oh yeah, dude. I rim job. I was called rim job since I was like 2 probably. And it was actually funny to me earlier. I was like laugh with people. I'm like, yeah, that's funny. You're calling me rim job. And then it got to the point I was like, come on, man, get a little more creative. Just a little bit. Like rim job's an obvious one. I actually had a boss back in radio who would yell across the room, yo, rim job, come to my office, like across everybody in the whole thing. And I answered to it. I was like, oh yeah, what's up, man? I'll be over there, kind of a thing. So I don't care. But
Yeah,
I
well,
like the name.
nowadays you could sue somebody for $100 million if they call you a name. So maybe your next
Go.
boss will call you Rim Job and you'll make some money.
Let's hope so, man. That's where I'm going right now in life. That's what I'm hoping for. So anyway, that's our little plug,
Yeah.
real quick for this week, and we just a multitude of sponsors, man. It's crazy.
Can't wait. Well, I love spending the money, so keep them coming. I love that. So send me the check again. You've got the address. I'm ready to go. But we'll get past our rim job now and move on to our number 4 in our list of top 5. And this one's going to be a little boring for folks, but it's something that's kind of out there, kind of weird. A lot of folks may have already done this. In fact, I know they have. Is I'd like to get an RV for Liz and I and just travel the U.S. for an entire summer. So basically, take an RV, start here in the South, work our way across the southern part of the United States, stopping at every big ball of twine and seeing all the sights, and then working our way back across the top of the United States and seeing all 50 states, if possible, on a summer trek in an RV where she and I can just enjoy the sights, sounds, and hopefully a few ball games on the way because we both love baseball. But really, the number 4 would be to get an RV and take a trip across and around the U.S.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I don't like camping, but
RV's not camping. That's more glamping. You have a bed, you've got doors, you're inside, you have a shower. It's
I
not
prefer
bad.
Howard Johnson's in Pittsburgh.
And
So,
the itchy sheets.
yeah, I love a good Itchy Sheet. That's a great band name, the Itchy Sheets. So number 4 for me, man. I'm going to move on here. It's kind of a boring one, I think, but I really thought about this. I wasn't even trying to be funny. I just like, man, what would I really do? And for me, I would learn to play two more instruments, banjo and a violin. I would love to learn both of those. A banjo probably more than a violin. I just want to sit on my porch one day and just pluck at a banjo when people walk by. Just there's something like just magical about that. Like, because I couldn't sit out there with the violin and really draw a crowd. But at the banjo, I'm sitting there, people would just come up there. They'd be like, all right, man, this is good, but go down now. Now we got to go down. Like, it would
And
be
they
amazing.
would. Well, that is a very welcoming instrument, right? Like you said, if people walk by and you're up on your front porch playing a banjo, they're going to listen or stop or wave. If you're playing a violin, they're going to look at you funny and keep walking.
Well, and banjos originated, they're an African instrument originally, and they came over through the slave trades, and that was the instrument that the slaves were using and playing, and then it was somehow taken, and just like a lot of other things, by the white people, and turned into bluegrass. And but it's an interesting instrument. I've tried to play one before, but it's going to take a little bit more. So that's a thing on my bucket list. I probably will check that one off, I think.
I like that one. And we actually talked about Steve Martin a few weeks ago. He's a huge banjo player. And I always loved to listen to him when he was doing his comedy. He would be playing the banjo in the background. Like I said, it's a very welcoming instrument. People enjoy it. Fun for all. So great number 4.
Awesome. Yeah. So now yours, man. Number 3, we're on it.
Yeah. So you see a common theme with me. It's travel related. And number 3 actually is just like number 2, but a little bit different, right? So as I RV across America one year, I actually want to go up to and spend a whole summer in Alaska, right? I want to be up there as far north as I can possibly go, up in the Arctic Circle. Go start off in southern Alaska, work your way up through Denali Forest, go up farther to the Arctic National Park, and maybe even make it up to the Arctic Coastal Plain, which is the very top of Alaska, where things are still frozen today. I'd like to do this. I've been to Alaska twice, but I've never been to the northern part of Alaska. I'd love to get up there and enjoy the true glaciers and unspoiled nature of Alaska. So like I said, I've been there a couple times, but never far enough north to truly see the wide open spaces that you see on TV. So like I said, from number 4 to number 3, it's the same theme, getting in a car, getting in an RV, and just exploring even more of the U.S. and head north to Alaska.
Well, and my number 3 is traveling. So I finally got a traveling one in there. But this is where I cheat a little bit. So I would like to take the family on like a 2-month long trip across the world, and I want to see a lot of things. So as you split up some of your things and the way that you're going about it, like I want us to go to Europe and Australia, Africa, and Asia. I want to swim in the Dead Sea. I want to backpack via a car through Europe, stopping at bed and breakfast and stuff. And then just going and doing the, off the beaten path touristy stuff that's not really touristy. Jump off cliffs in Greece, go to Corfu in Greece. I've always wanted to go there. Hang out in Outback, Australia, and then stand in the middle of the Times Square in Tokyo. I would love to do that. And lastly, this will be amazing, but like meet a random tribesman in like Papua New Guinea or somewhere like that, and like hopefully not die and be eaten, but actually get to
cannibals.
Yeah, but I'd like to do that. So with the family. So
So let me ask you, what you want to see the world? That's great. I think everyone would like to do that as well. But if you had to pick one place, what would it be?
Of all those, it would be Corfu in Greece.
All right.
That's where it would be. I don't know if you've seen this show called The Durrells in Corfu, and I'm a weirdo when it comes to watching certain things, but I love like period dramas and things like that from, especially British ones. I love BBC shows and things. And one of them they have is called The Durrells in Corfu, and it's based in the 20s, 30s in Corfu. And I fell in love with the place through that show and just really want to go. It's just this tiny island, off the coast. It's probably more so off the coast of Albania than it is Greece. But it's right there. And so that's where I'd really want to take. Me and Megan were going to get married in Malta. We ended up getting married in Austin, Texas, but we were looking at Malta, all places.
One and the same.
Yeah, it really is. And then decided we could do more if we went to Austin. And so I don't know, maybe Malta too, but I don't know. I'll say Corfu for now.
I like anything when it relates to travel, and I'm going to stick with that theme for my number 2 because you can do a lot of different things in this world, but traveling and seeing new cultures and trying new things is great. And my number 2 is similar to your number 3. Actually, I'd love to be on a month-long cruise, through the Atlantic Ocean up towards the Norwegian Sea, North Sea, Baltic Sea. Basically, I'd love to see Greenland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and end up over in St. Petersburg, Russia, where I have been in the past, and I'd love to take my family to Russia. I was there alone for about a month back in 2000, and St. Petersburg is beautiful. So I want to go back, but I do want to take that cruise that goes up through that region. We were actually going to take one years ago through Disney, and for various reasons, it got canceled, and we haven't got to do it. But that's one. Number 2 on my list is to take a cruise and experience that part of the world.
Yeah, man, you're just gonna be traveling the rest of your life. It sounds like so.
Yeah, that's my fantasy. I love doing that. Either I'm going to be on the moon, or I'm going to see some new culture or new place that I haven't seen before. Maybe I'll go to West Virginia for number 1. We'll see.
Well, I was going to say, you kind of turned this episode into what Liz suggested anyway, as far as like where you on a vacation, where you vacationed. But this is where you want to go.
This is where I want to go, right? And take the family and enjoy it, or just Liz and I in some cases. So, but to me, travel is the ultimate relaxation, quite honestly.
Do you ever get distracted about how good looking I am? Like, we're doing these videos, right, where we can see each other right now, and I'm getting distracted looking at myself as I'm talking.
I block your picture with my script, so I just
Okay.
look at myself. So yes, I do get distracted by my beauty, not yours.
It's rough. It's rough. I'm just like, I'm staring myself in my eyes, and I'm like, wow, this is what Megan gets to look at all the time. Like, she's so lucky. She really is. All right,
Or
number two
blind.
for me. Number two is producing and directing a TV show, a hit TV show specifically, not just a random cheesy one. I would 100% love to do that. We have one ready. We have two ready to roll, a teen drama and a comedy, much like this one, this podcast that turned
But
into a
funny.
TV show. Yeah.
But funny, yes.
And I would love to do that. I'd love to be a part of that whole process and be the producer, but also direct. And I don't care if it's just one TV show, just one. I don't need to, and by TV show, I mean the whole series, but not like just one episode. The whole
Now,
series.
I'm going to make you pick now. If you had to pick one genre, what would it be? So I'm not going to make you pick between Arcadia, which is your passion, and a comedy that you and I have kind of written scripts for that is quite honestly hilarious. But if you could choose, would it be a Seinfeld type TV show, or would it be more of a Grey's Anatomy type show? Where's your head?
Yeah, it would be a drama just because it's longer. It's got a little more impact, I think. It would be hard to replicate what Seinfeld's done. So I don't know if I'd play in the comedy space very well like they did. They're just brilliant. So I don't know. I think it'd be a drama because there's just a lot more meat there and a lot more production to be done for longer episodes. That would be my first response to it.
Very cool. And I'm hoping, I really do hope Arcadia gets picked up and you and Megan ride off into the sunset with all the royalties from that show, because it is truly a good one. So let's see what happens there for you. I'm wishing you well, for sure.
Well, Arcadia needs to sponsor this podcast, and maybe that will help actually get some success with it.
Or we could just mention it, and then people can hear about it, right?
Or we can mention Paper Chase. And by the way, here's another thing we should plug real quick is our new website for R Squared Media.
It's beautiful.
People should check that out. People should check it out.
What did that cost us? $10K to get done?
Yeah, at least. And
right.
rsquaredmedia.com. Check it out. And you can read about Arcadia. You can see about the other podcasts that we're doing. You can read about Paper Chasing, our comedy script that we have that we're trying to turn into a TV show, which is kind of brilliant in a lot of ways. And it's based on real experiences that Randy and I have had in a lot of ways. So
yes.
It's funny too.
And for those who don't know, R Squared is the letter R followed by squaredmedia.com. R Squared is Rains and Remmer and Rains. That's where it came up from. That's our idea. And we share a lot of good stuff there. So go check it out when you have some time. And that leads us to our number one, talking about great things, right? My number one, I have started this one. I have started my number one a little bit. So one of my goals, one of my bucket list items is to hike a major U.S. trail, whether it's, the Pacific Crest Trail, the Continental Divide, or the Appalachian Trail. I have done a few miles on the App Trail with my son. A couple great weeks we've spent out there, which is great. The highest point we got to was 4,500. But I just wanted to give people an idea of how much when you hike these trails. And I'll actually give a shout out to my cousin, Craig Torbett, who has done the entire App Trail alone, which inspired my son and I to start it. And eventually maybe we'll finish it. But we did do all of Georgia, which isn't much. And we've gone a little bit into about what I think it's about 60 miles or so total, 50 miles total. Highest point was 4,500 feet, which is pretty high. However, if I go and we change and do different treks, the Pacific Crest Trail has a 13,000 foot high elevation. And then the Continental Divide has a 14,000 foot elevation. And people don't realize how difficult it is to hike when you get up to those type of levels. There's no oxygen. I know that when I was at 4,500 feet, and I was in good shape, I was playing a lot of tennis in those days, and my lung capacity was good. My son was maybe 16 at the time, and we were both gassed when we got to the top. And thank God it goes downhill once you get to the top, because we wouldn't have been able to go much higher. So we're going to have to get in better shape if we're going to do one of the trails from start to finish. But my goal is to do one of them. I don't care which one. Hopefully my son, Andrew, who I call Bo, still wants to do it and finish it with me. But, you need time. You need 5 months, maybe 6 months to finish that trail. So we'll see if we get around to it, but it's number one on the Randy Rains bucket list.
Well, I know you have good lungs. Like, you're good at swallowing. You got, a lot of things going for you. So
I still play tennis. I can still breathe. So I got that going for me. I just don't know if I have the endurance, but I think I could do it. I'm persistent. I'm competitive. I want to do things. I want to complete them, accomplish things. So I think if I had the time, I could do it. And time is what we're all lacking, right? So hopefully one day I'll have the time and I'll still be fit enough to do this, because you're carrying, 40 pounds on your back the whole time. Or 30 to 40 pounds. So you've got to be in decent shape to do it. And I'm hoping time doesn't pass me by on that one. So that's my number one. What is your big number one?
Well, I will add to your number one. I have a guy that I went to high school with, actually, I think it was last year before, completed the Appalachian Trail. And I was following him along. Him and his wife did it. I was following them along, in their journey. It was 3 months, 4 months, however long it took them. And it was interesting, like the pictures and stuff they would take and stuff they would share, but it was something I didn't realize, and people that do it obviously know. So kind of a boomer when it comes to the knowledge of this. But I love the stops that they went to, where people in the communities in the little small towns along the way would bring food and water and give to them along the way, or even socks or shoes, or like these random stops where just people in the community were like, hey, I'd love to go help those people doing the trails. And it was all over the place, up and down through every state. So it was cool.
It is. And I can tell you one quick story before we get to your number one. I think it was day 3 or 4 of our very first venture out, my son and I. And it was middle of the day, I think, but we were starving, and we had our food rationed for the entire week. So it's not like when you're starving, you can just take and start eating your food. You'll run out. There's not like, grocery stores on the trail. But we did hit one of these magic food stops, so to speak. And they were serving warm soup, and it was a chilly day. And we got the soup, and they were also offering sodas, which were great to have that sugar high. But I can tell you, I don't know what they put in this soup. It was the nastiest cream soup I've ever had in my life. And my son Bo will say the same thing. It was horrible, but we were so hungry that you couldn't stop eating it. So, sometimes you stop and you get a hot dog from these places, or people will serve up different food, maybe something decent, right? But usually they know you've got to get protein. But this soup was just a mixture of everything they could find, dumped it into a big old pot and served it up. Bo and I choked it down, but that's how hungry you get and how much energy you burn. Always take extra food. I'll warn you right now.
Yeah, that's a risk that you're taking. If let's say somebody hateful just wants to go up there and like put some nasty stuff in some food and give it to people, where the next day or later that night it hits you on the trail, and the struggle's
and there's
real.
Nowhere, man. Yeah, you're in trouble then. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't have that on my bucket list for many reasons. Number one, because I'm fat, and I just don't think I would make it very far. I've been on the mountains. I've, hiked a little bit on the mountains. We went one time, and I took Rooney on my back in one of those things. I don't even know what they're called, but it was basically a back carrier for her. And it was awful, man. And we did like the baby trail. They're like, here's the easy one. You guys got it. I'm not lying. Like 8 minutes into it, like dripping sweat, like my lungs are outside of my body, and I'm just looking around like everybody else is gone, and I couldn't do it. Even in my better health days, Megan and I were in Puerto Rico, and we went hiking through a jungle. It's the largest mountain in the Caribbean that they have there, and at the top of it is a waterfall. So that's kind of your reward when you get there. Cool. She left me, man. Like I was so slow, like, and she was gone, and she was doing it barefoot. So yeah, I'm not good at that, so I don't have that as any of my list ever.
Right, so, I knew we wouldn't overlap on number one for sure. So good.
Yeah, my number one is surprising to me when I thought about it. It moved up the ladder. It was like started at number 5, then it went to 4, 3. Then I was like, no, actually, this is what I would love, to do. And other than spending time with the family, which I get to do right now, which is great, and taking them on that 2-month vacation to wherever we're going, which may turn into a shit show at the same time too, with a bunch of kids for 2 months locked up in different places. But I'd love to write and publish a book. That's not my number one on the list, more so than doing a TV show, more so than anything else. I was going to put do podcasts for a living, but that's not really a bucket list. We're already doing that, making the dollars,
doing it. Millions.
But write and publish a book and watch it go out there. People that write, man, like writers, novelists, they fascinate me. It's such an interesting job. I won't say that it's easy, because it's not, but it's such an interesting job that I could go on a 2-month vacation and I'm paid to do it, to be away, just to write a book.
Yep.
And I'm staring at the ocean or the mountains, and my only job is to focus on creating this story, which I love doing, is creating things. And so it seems like the most ideal thing to do in the world. I'm not saying it's easy, because obviously I haven't done it yet, but I'd love to get to that point.
All right. So you're writing a book. Is the book about your life and times? Is it fictional, nonfiction? What type of book are you writing here, Jeff?
I'd like to write a book about a love story that involves reincarnation.
Okay. All right.
Got real quiet.
All right. I
wasn't expecting that.
That is romantic. That is sweet. I think my wife will read that book for sure.
And it's going to have a twist. So look, I'm going to put myself out here a little bit. And one of my favorite writers actually is from the glorious area of New Bern that we have visited many times, is Nicholas Sparks. And he writes all of I hate saying it out loud, but he writes these amazing love stories that I've gotten caught up in. And I remember sitting on a train in DC one time as a grown ass man, and I was sitting here reading these Nicholas Sparks books, and I could just tell, man, everybody was watching me. But I want to take some of the magic that he does, because everything he writes turns into a movie. I mean, it really does. Yeah. But I want to take the magic he writes, but really drive into more of the passion of reincarnation and connecting the dots and making it almost like a thriller, so to speak. This mysticism to it, where you're really trying to think, okay, how does that connect? What does that have to do with me? And then at the end, it's almost like Sixth Sense, where you're like, holy shit, I knew it. I knew he was dead. And nobody knew it.
Sixth Sense had a great twist, right? And your book sounds a little like a show my wife watches, Outlander. It's
okay.
Not like it. It doesn't. It just reminds me of that. Now, yeah. I do have to ask you, when you're reading Nicholas Sparks on the beach, are you wearing a one piece or a bikini?
A Speedo. Does that count as a one piece or a bikini?
I guess that's a one piece. That's a one piece. Listen, I have to tease you. You know that. So, no, but that's great. Listen, I do know someone who's written a book. He's a published author, and guess who that is?
Who is that?
Jack Rains.
Jack Rains is a published author. Jack Rains needs to come on the show, man, and we talked to him about this.
Yeah, so I think it was probably 5 years ago. He wrote a book.
What's it called?
I found it. Life is Good. I found the book. I didn't find the book. I knew he was writing it. My stepmother had access to it. So I said, you've got to get me, the chapters. Just send it to me. I'll take care of the rest of it. So from his chapters, I don't think he ever intended it to be published, but we got it published and it's out there. I think he has sold one copy.
I'd like to read it.
But I'd like to read it. It's a fascinating story. So if you can find it, it might actually be under John Rains and not Jack Rains. But okay. Life is Good. Yeah.
I just Googled Life is Good Jack Rains as we're talking, and the first thing that pops up says judge sentences murderer to 71 years in prison.
That's his story.
It's the Murfreesboro Post. So I'm not sure that's it. So let me try John Rains.
I will find it for you. It's been a few years since it was put out, but it's out there. And it was available at one point. I do know it was available. And he said, I feel kind of bad that it's out there and available. I didn't want this. I really didn't want it to be published. I'm like, Dad, it's a good story. Let's leave it out there. But at one point we pulled it back. And I don't recall if it was on Amazon or somewhere, but it was out there. I'll find it.
Yeah, I'd love to get an autographed copy, and we should interview him and talk about this book and some of the elements of it. I think that would be good. I say my number one is writing and publishing a book, and I hope one day I can sit down and do it. I try to push Megan to do it. She's a much better writer than me. That's kind of the hang up is I know that I'm not really good at writing. I'm good at creating a story and kind of talking that story and telling it out. I don't know if I can sit down and be descriptive and pull out a thesaurus and use all these words to make sense of it, but I want to give it a shot one day.
Write it together, man. Write it together.
Yeah, well, we did that with Arcadia, and that got us far right now. So yeah, that will work out. I believe in it,
man. We know it. Well, this has been a great episode. Once again, this is Randy Rains with Jeff Remmer and Milkshake, and it's been a lot of fun for the last 45 minutes talking about our bucket list. We'd love to hear from all the folks out there listening to us, both of you. What's on your bucket list?
Please, both of you, tell us, Justin. Tell us what your bucket list is.
And Jack, please.
Jack, come on the show. Give me an autograph book, man. I'm serious. I want an autograph book, and I'll read it. I'd love to read it, and then we'll do a top 5 about the book, and explore what our top 5 moments for the book is. So I love it. So yeah, Milkshake episode 10 celebration, man. We did it in the books. And we out, bro.
Milkshake.